This video is a film study look at the two impact plays that Aidan Hutchinson made in the Detroit Lions' 38-30 win over the Ravens on Monday Night Football in Week 3. Two plays that really pushed the Lions over the edge. I thought Detroit had largely controlled much of the second and third quarter, spurred on by the two 95-yard-plus drives, but also they had frustrated the Ravens' offense, stopped or slowed down the run in a significant fashion such that the Ravens' offensive choices, their playbook, if you will, had been narrowed or whittled down. Hutchinson, of course, got his first sack of the 2025 season after a rough outing for Detroit's defense in Week 1, this one in the fourth quarter of their blowout win over the Bears last week. Essentially a blow-by or run-by of the left tackle, totally outmatched. Hutchinson's sacks come in a wide range of appearances. Some of them are organic wins, if you will, like this one, where he's just defeating the tackle who's assigned to him. Some of them are what I referred to with Muhammad's plays against the Ravens on Monday night as activity sacks. Essentially, great effort, great hustle, understanding where you're supposed to be. I do think Hutchinson was a big plan, a big part of some of the 3+1 spy concepts that the Lions used under Kelvin Shepard to kind of hold down Lamar Jackson. There seemed to be a really strategic formula that they wanted to use in those situations. Hutchinson moved to the right side against the Ravens, was quiet early in the game, don't get me wrong. Somehow was credited with 8 or 9 pressures. I don't know where those metrics come from. I didn't see that. I wonder if pressures, depending on who's charting them, are given out a little bit too easily at times. But I want to talk about this play. This is the option, the forced fumble against Derrick Henry. First, the inside linebackers for the Lions, Alex Anzalone and Jack Campbell, are both identifying that it's an unbalanced formation, meaning you have the left guard and the tight end set to the weak side, and then it's a tackle over alignment. So Ronnie Stanley and Roger Rosengarten are both on the opposite side. Why do I point this out? And why did the Lions point it out? Because it's a big deal. It basically means there's an option concept coming to the bottom side of our screen, the left-hand side of the Ravens offense. They've done this for the last couple of years under Todd Monken. Sure enough, it's a dual read. So Lamar and Mark Andrews are both reading Hutchinson. How does that impact this play, right? Some would say, well, Derrick Henry just needs to hold on to the football. This happens, in my opinion, because Hutchinson knows that he's the read man. So he understands what's going to occur. Let me get upfield and then veer back once the ball is given. The Pittsburgh Steelers used to have a great idea of who was going to be the read man on a particular play. I think Hutchinson knew it, and I think that's one of the reasons why you can see DJ Reed kind of stay at home. Why does Henry veer back to the outside? Because Alex Anzalone was in his path. Alex Anzalone essentially fronted him up. It's a great punch out by Hutchinson. He deserves all the credit for it. I think the pre-snap identification by Campbell and Alex Anzalone here was a huge element to discuss, or at least point out. As an aside, all 3 of Henry's fumbles in 2025, I believe, have come with the ball in his left hand. So there's something interesting to note there. Essentially, what I'm offering to you is that I think this formation, with both tackles on the Ravens' right, unbalanced formation, is designed to elicit a shifting or a reaction of the defensive front by the Lions in this case. And it's, mission accomplished for the Ravens in that regard. Hutchinson appears to be looking at Andrews, in my opinion, trying to read his path, but it's a dual read. So both Andrews and Lamar are reading Hutchinson. So Andrews should veer to the front side inside linebacker, and he's too late in doing so. Meaning, if Hutchinson was to violently go down the line of scrimmage to take away Henry, then Andrews would loop to the outside, and he would still go block the front side inside linebacker, Alex Anzalone. Hence the reason why I call it a dual read. Hutchinson goes upfield, however, so Andrews should veer underneath and still go get, you guessed it, the front side inside linebacker, Alex Anzalone. He's too slow in doing so, and as a result, Hutchinson can peel back underneath that path and punch it out from Henry, who kind of had to bounce it or slide to the outside. Really poor job, if you ask me, of the Ravens blocking Andrews' path in particular. But also, I think you have to give credit to the Lions for their identification. And then Hutchinson made the play, right? It's a sick impact play, punching it out, really changed the tone of the game. It's 28-24 right here, and then Detroit obviously adds a field goal to make it 31-24, a 7-point lead. Were it not for this forced fumble here, Baltimore has the ball in the fourth quarter. I think about 6.5 minutes left, but I could be wrong there, and an opportunity to go down and take the lead. Finally, after that aforementioned field goal by Bates and the Lions to put them up by 7, here's Hutchinson. This is his sack, where the offensive line for the Ravens is stepping to him. Another situation where all of the Ravens' routes are just so far downfield. And, Lamar's holding on to the football. He needs to release it. I saw some ridiculous comments like Lamar's trying to pad his stats. Like, what? This is, I think, an inferior design by the Ravens offensively in that all of these routes are deeper down the field. I do wonder at some point if he could maybe get this ball to Walker, being as you've got man up here by DJ Reed, who I thought played exceptional against Zay Flowers and against everyone else, to be honest with you. But you can see Hutchinson beat the left tackle, Ronnie Stanley, who, really is probably expecting help from the left guard. I'll give the end zone angle for it. But I think Stanley probably also, most likely Stanley held Hutchinson as well, and I think you get an idea of what I'm talking about from the end zone angle. So the whole offensive line for the Ravens is going to slide to their left, and perhaps to deal with Hutchinson. But as Hutchinson goes through the B gap on an inside rush, I think Stanley may presume that he's going to get help from Voorhees, the left guard. Hutchinson really shouldn't be there. And what I mean is Hutchinson shouldn't be essentially in the same gap as Tyleik Williams is trying to fight to. But one other thing to note is that on the front side of this, excuse me, Kolar is initially working to the defensive end. And then Kolar will peel to the outside to deal with the blitzer, who I believe is Derek Barnes. So focusing on Hutchinson for a moment, like I said, I think he's being held right here by Stanley. Not sure how that's not called. Slow motion, it probably looks worse than it is. But Hutchinson plays through the contact of Stanley and Voorhees. There's been a lot of discussion about Lamar in the Ravens, fan base and comment section for my videos and others that, Lamar's holding on to the ball. I mean, to throw this ball here over the top of Campbell and then outside of, I think that's Kirby Joseph, but I could be wrong. It's going to be a low percentage throw over the top of that level. You do have man off screen to our right against Zay Flowers. So, yeah, Lamar could throw that ball, over in between the hash and the top of the numbers, which is off screen to our right. I just think you're talking about a really low percentage throw. You can see he's actually starting to pull the pin here and then, possibly go to check it down to Kolar. Decides against it for whatever reason, probably because of Barnes flashing in front of him. I think it's a great play by Hutchinson, both of them. The Lions deserve credit for the identification on the option, the unbalanced option play, I should say, and then playing just in a relentless fashion on defense. Even, you've got Anzalone here bearing downhill in Lamar's face. They brought pressure, but strategically at the right time. I will try to break down some of the 3+1 spy rushes that Kelvin Shepherd used. They were effective. In the past, a spy against Lamar has not been. The Lions figured out, I think, a pathway, a formula to make it so. A couple of thoughts on that. Early in the game, brought pressure, 5, 6, 7-man blitzes. So trained Lamar, trained Monk, and that's what they were going to do. As the game progressed, I felt like there was a traditional usage of coverages, some cover 3. There was a Tampa 2 in there on some third downs, and Lamar converted actually both of those. One on a scramble against cover 3, one on a throw to Bateman on a Tampa 2. I think that was actually a second down. As the game got close to money time, third quarter, fourth quarter, in third down situations, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, increasingly, Kelvin Shepherd went to the 3+1 blitz, and Hutchinson was a big part of it. Getting a topside rush, kind of funneling Lamar to the spy. I've seen that technique, that tactic before, but no one integrated it, or not as well coordinated as the Lions were on Monday night. The spies were at such a depth that when Lamar stepped up, they were to step up and match him. Nowaski, Barnes, multiple guys, Anzalone, Campbell, they were a big factor in my opinion. And a credit to the Lions defense. Shepherd, I thought expert usage of his players, in particular his linebackers. Campbell, Anzalone, Barnes, and even Nowaski. Hutchinson's clutch plays just really pushed things over the top for Detroit. they did a great job defending Lamar on a lot of those third downs. And I thought these two plays swung the tide in a fourth quarter that was still close on the scoreboard. But in terms of gameplay, the Lions, I felt like were in control at that point. In any case, if you enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comments section. Not a full-length film study on Hutchinson. I didn't see 8 or 9 pressures as I went through the film. You're more than welcome to let me know. If you did, I don't know what the definition of a pressure is and what different websites or rating services apply as a pressure. Aidan Hutchinson played really well. Doesn't need to have inflated stats like that put out there as an indication for how much impact he can have. Relentless style seems to me to be, at or close to 100%. So really cool to see him playing well, even though it was against my favorite team, obviously. If you guys think other Lions fans would enjoy this film study look at Aidan Hutchinson and his 2 turnover-worthy plays against the Ravens, even though the second one didn't result in a turnover, just a sack of Lamar. If you think other Lions fans would enjoy this film study, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.